Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast Diversity with Dale, where we discuss trends in diversity, equity, and inclusion in workplaces. I am your host, Pallavi Jha, Managing Director of Dale Carnegie India. In today's episode, we are joined by Madhubala Sharma. She is the Senior DEI Business Partner of Customer Services International Markets at Amazon. Amongst her many applaudable achievements, the one that stands out to me the most is that in the year 2009, she was felicitated as the role model on the occasion of International Day of Persons with Disabilities by no less than the President of India. So it's a great privilege to have her here. And in today's episode, we will be in conversation with her to understand how to create inclusive workplaces for persons with disabilities. So let's get started. Hi, Madhu. It's a pleasure to have you on Diversity with Dale. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here as well.
Super. You know, Madhu, we are in the month of October, which is
Yeah.
celebrated as the National Blind Awareness Month. It's also a day. It's a month when we have the World Sight Day, the White Cane Day, and when we were speaking earlier, you mentioned about a host of initiatives that happen during this month. Tell me, what does it mean to you personally?
Um, so diversity has been existing ever since we've been existing. But
That's
little
true.
do
Right.
little and we really don't realize the importance of it, the magnitude of it, and we a lot of times limit it to certain underrepresented groups or and some those segments that have not been fortunate or are also called underprivileged at times. So
Sure.
bringing all of this to an equal footing and being able to provide an equal opportunity, um, I think it's a very very important initiative or a way of humanity, of governments, of organizations, of societies as a whole, that we recognize and we take a step back and celebrate these milestones, these important days. Um, so each segment gets an opportunity to talk about or spread awareness and convert intentions to actions as well. So that's how important I feel that diversity awareness month is. Talking about diversity, the blindness awareness month or world sight day, I think it's equally important as well. I happen to have 100% blindness since birth, um, and that means something, right? There are a lot of cases where blindness can be prevented. So
Hmm.
can we take a look at those initiatives and make efforts, intentional efforts to prevent blindness. So though
Yes.
that's really really important.
Absolutely, I can't agree with you more. I mean, it's amazing that you talked about how you've been born with a particular you've been unable to see since you were born, and I wonder what that feels like. But you're really a role model, and so it'll be wonderful for you to be able to share your personal story and experience. It might just be something that we all need to know.
Sure, thank you so much. In fact, I truly believe that every single person is a role model in their own stride. And Pallavi, look at you, how amazing you are being a businesswoman, leading a large organization, and the kind of impact that you make is absolutely superb.
Thank you.
So
That's very generous of you.
um, I think I would like to credit for who I am, where I stand today, what I've learned, what my experiences have been, to the right nurturing that I got. You know how we nurture a plant, right? A seed, how we take care of the seed that blossoms into a beautiful plant. That's precisely what my parents did to me. Um, so I'd like to share with you that I have an elder sister and a younger brother. My elder sister and I, both of us are totally blind, and by the grace of God, my brother can see. He is sighted. I totally believe that I have no sight. I do have vision, so vision is there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the most important part, actually.
To take you back to the backstory. So first my sister was born, and then 2.5 years later I came in, and both of us totally blind. Now my parents, definitely like any other parents, would have been were shocked. Not that that we were a girl child. That was not their challenge, or that their thinking. um, but to deal with something that they were blessed with, children, girls with total blindness. They had never seen this before, never heard of this before, never dealt with something like this before, never felt being a parent of blind children ever before. It wasn't in the family. My parents did not give up on us. Unlike how we hear in the society, or how people would think that, oh, this is karma, this is poor thing, or this is so sad. Um, they didn't deal with any of that, and they didn't let any of that reflect on us. They raised us and my younger brother the same way. The treatment that they gave, me, my sister, my brother, were absolutely inclusive, at par, and enabling, to say the best. So my parents never said, oh, you can't take a glass of water on your own because you can't see.
Yeah,
They didn't limit us.
right.
They gave us independence, training to be independent. They allowed us the space to do things on our own, move around on our own, and made efforts to get us the best of education. So um, I went on to study through a school called National Association for the Blind. They have their integrated system of education. So through that school, I went to Faith Academy and then Delhi Public School, RK Puram. Now, um, we used to have a long day at work, at school. First, we would go to DPS, my sister and I, and then study, attend classes there, and then go to National Association for the Blind for resource classes, to clarify our doubts, to clarify our concepts. So did that, and that's where my foundation got set right. And then I pursued graduation English honors from Ladies Sri Ram College. um, Worked around that time as well, and later a little bit as a software tester, then worked with Concentrix, Daksh IBM, Daksh Concentrix, in the space of learning and development. And now I'm working with Amazon, looking at the DEI initiatives. And I'm also married. I
Wonderful.
my son, my husband, Dinesh, my husband, and I, both of us have blindness. In fact, my husband is a software professional. It's
Wow.
difficult to imagine that somebody who cannot see works with computers,
Yep.
and codes as well.
Wow.
Um, in fact, you'd be excited to learn that he developed the first Hindi screen reading software. The
Oh,
software that
wow. That is
reads.
quite an achievement. Very impressive. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our
just
son
was to
is.
prove just was to prove that there is so much that we understand that people with disabilities almost can do as well and even better in terms of setting some standards of professional achievements amongst everybody. But I must say you're very blessed because it's unusual to find such empowering nurturing at such an early age, especially at that time and age. So you're lucky, great parents, great parenting, and a lovely start to your life, I would say.
Yeah.
But there comes a time in your life, Madhu, thanks to the nurture that you've had, you do take on steps on your own.
Totally.
And I think it would be interesting to know what your personal, defining moment was where you actually came into your own and took your first independent decisions and steps to fashion your life?
In fact, Pallavi, being independent has been a mindset that um, I've been nurtured with, and I've carried on. I remember this moment when I was in grade 10, and it was a struggle for my father to drop us every day, pick us up from National Association for the Blind. My parents did struggle quite a bit, to bring us, to raise us, to give us the equal opportunity, access to the best education system. And I saw that, and I used to feel that it's not easy, and nobody is going to hold my hand throughout my life. I need to be independent. And the moment you
Right?
said about the defining moment and how I gained that independence, I'm reminded of this time when I was in grade 10. It was summer vacations, and my dad used to go to his office. He would drop us to NAB, National Association for the Blind, for a computer class in the morning, and then in the evening, he would pick us back up. Now, to do so, he had to literally get off the chartered bus that he used to travel in, spend 15 minutes walking us to the school, and then get back, catch another bus, and then get to his office. Uh, I felt this is not worth it. He shouldn't be doing all of that. And that's when I told him that, we want to be independent. So I want to walk the path independently. And I also realized his concerns, my parents' concerns, how to leave two girls, beautiful girls,
Yes, of course.
on the road just like that. So I told my dad, for your own comfort, just follow us for a couple of days and see us walk around using the white cane,
Hmm.
and let us go to the school NAB on our own. And when you feel comfortable, you stop walking behind us. But
Hmm.
gain that confidence and let us be, because you won't be able to do that, all your life for us. We need to pick ourselves up and walk on our own. And that was the day he agreed, because he was an empowering father, right? He's an empowering person, an enabling person. He walked behind us once, and he got the trust that he can let us be walk around independently. And since then, we've been independent. I've traveled abroad, I've traveled wherever work has taken me, and for personal trips as well. But that really enabled me to be independent and gather that trust and confidence in my parents as well, that hey, we can look after ourselves as well.
You know what? As listening to you, what I'm taking away is that if you create the right enabling environment and give the right tools, you can get the same self confidence, the same strength, the same competence, and the same abilities without being left behind at all. And I think in many ways, organizations can do many things to actually create that kind of an enabling environment. And
Yes.
in your mind, what are some of those shining examples that companies have done to create such inclusive workplaces for people with disabilities?
I think the first step to be aware and take that decision that hey, we want to include people with disabilities in the workforce. That's a good one. Not being limited by the thought that, people, let's look at low hangings. People, those who have a little bit of a disability, let's bring them in and set it as an example. There are organizations that literally go out of the way, or might I say, create ways to hire people with disabilities, include them as a part of the workforce, not just at entry level, also at leadership level, in their design teams, in their development teams, in their leadership teams, in their senior executive teams as well. Um, I'm reminded of organizations like Apple. I love Apple. I love Apple products for the simple
I
reason.
am an iPhone. I am an iPhone fan too. Yes, right.
And the simple reason is that I get accessibility inbuilt. in the phone,
Mm-hmm.
I just need to activate the accessibility feature, and I can use the iPhone independently. That is such an enabling experience for me. I don't need to go out asking for an additional software to use the phone independently, or to use the smartwatch independently. um, I just have it at my fingertips. And
Yeah.
that is an example of universal design, if you will,
Yeah.
to to give a product that anybody can just use it off the shelf.
That's brilliant. What a great example there. And it actually is a classic, a case study of why inclusion actually has a great business impact. Not only have you got a big fan of the brand, but what a great corporate reputation, what a great brand reputation. And of course, he's selling so many more mobile phones to people who otherwise would have been denied that, right? So it's pure business sense. So I think this whole business of diversity and linking it to a real business impact is going to be the intrinsic drivers for companies, frankly, to justify all of that. Because in and of itself, if people are not able to connect it with benefits, one is the social benefit and the other is the business benefit. And if we are able to combine these two, I think we have a winner. And that reminds me of a recent study that we did amongst Indian companies just to understand what is the state of diversity, equity, and inclusion in India and Indian companies. And what struck us was that 68% of the responding companies said that their diversity efforts were focused only on gender diversity. In fact, they
Hmm.
equated diversity with
Hmm.
diversity, and that kind of brought home the point. There are so many other minority groups, in a sense, that do not get representation, do not even get mind space when
Hmm.
companies are making their strategies. What do you what would you like to see, and how do you think we should create awareness for, say, people with disabilities
Right,
as a different group than just women?
right. You see, uh, you're right. And it's equated. Diversity is equated with women. Okay. You would have heard statements like, "I'm a diversity hire," or "She is a diversity hire."
Yeah, yeah.
It is so unfortunate, right? I am a
Yes.
woman and I am a hire, and I'm hired for my caliber, for my potential, for my competencies, for my abilities, not for me being a woman, or not for me being a woman with disability. And
Yeah.
and when we bring it towards the focus towards people with disabilities, it becomes an even bigger challenge, because a lot of times workforces or organizations say that we will hire people with disabilities when we are ready, and
Yeah.
we keep waiting to be ready. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, can we ever be ready? Can we ever be completely ready to
Yeah.
hire or to enable people with disabilities into the workforce? I'm reminded of how, when a baby is born, when as parents, when we bring a baby home, can we ever ensure that the house is baby ready? We will bring in a child home only when my house is baby ready.
Mm-hmm.
Practically
Yeah.
impossible, isn't it? We see
Right.
the baby
Right.
fall, we see the baby make, go have teeny mini accidents, and then we learn, and we make adjustments, we make accommodations. And that's the funda, or that's the level of awareness, and that's the level of initiative, I think, we we expect organizations, corporates to take up as well. That take those baby steps, bring in people with disabilities, and learn along the way. We also say that nothing for us without us. So if a
Mm-hmm.
Pallavi wants to get something for a Madhu, then how will Pallavi know what Madhu likes, or what Madhu will need to work with her disability, or otherwise as well. Let's say if Pallavi is buying a dress for Madhu, only when Pallavi knows what size she wears will she
Yeah,
be able to get the right fit.
yeah.
So that's the same for any inclusion initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Involve people who are experiencing the disability, bring them on board, learn along, learn with them, include them, and design and develop your strategies um, with them in mind. That's what I see.
Great. So what you're saying here is just get started. Don't wait. Don't wait for something to happen. Don't wait for any preparedness. But that still raises a question in my head, Madhu, is when do people become aware, and how would we make people aware that there are many types of diverse groups and there's an opportunity to include all of them? And so what needs to be done to create more and more awareness?
See, inclusion is a muscle memory. Like how
Mm-hmm.
we exercise, we build muscles. Um,
Yeah.
we need to start practicing inclusion, and we do that at home as well. Like if we were three siblings, and to my parents, my parents had have three kids. None of us are exactly the same. We're all different, right? Now
Yeah.
we can't say that I will my parents cannot say, oh, we will do this for the eldest one or the youngest one, or him or her, or do something for the girls because they are disabled and ignore my little poor little brother. Can't do that, right? Practicing inclusion happens um, at a family level, and that inclusion mindset is something that we need to bring to our workspaces as well. Awareness, there's no time for starting awareness. I think awareness and action go hand in hand. When we start working, when we start taking this muscle memory to the gym and start practicing it regularly, it becomes it becomes a culture. It becomes a muscle memory and becomes a culture. It becomes like how you were mentioning, it becomes like a business sense. We don't think it like a, okay, it's a good to do thing. we
Yeah.
we then realize that it's a must have. We
Yeah.
then realize that yes, there is space for corporate social responsibility. That's different. But including people with disabilities into the workforce is not just corporate social responsibility, it makes business sense.
Yes.
And and to do that is being being able to uncover those unconscious biases and overcome those unconscious biases by taking those baby steps. There are
Right.
guidelines available as well, in fact, to make our buildings accessible, harmonized guidelines. There is our Rights of People with Disabilities Act 2016 that one
Mm-hmm.
can one can familiarize yourself with
Mm-hmm.
and work with those, um, imbibe those, focusing on making our physical infrastructure accessible, our IT infrastructure accessible, our policies all inclusive,
Right.
whether it's a hiring policy, promotion
I
policies.
think very, very important points, and I think it needs to be tackled at multiple levels. But you don't need to wait for all of that to be in place. You just need to get
Yes,
started and build it along the way. And there is no one formula because what works for one person does not necessarily fit another person. So you
totally,
have to be in constant communication to know
totally.
what's working and work towards that. That's a good insight. Tell me, I mean, talking about saying, hey, look, take the first step, and I'm sure you had your early days and your first step into the corporate world, and similarly, many organizations that you may have worked with may have taken the first step to hire a person with disability. The newness of that whole interaction, how does that play out with coworkers and colleagues, and
Hmm.
what has been your experience and what needs to happen?
Um, One of the biggest things that needs to happen is normalizing the conversations. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Normalizing the disability and bringing the focus from the disability to the ability. For co-workers, for colleagues, it's new, right? They haven't seen somebody uh, with blindness, or let's say speech impairment, or a neurodivergent um, individual, or an orthopedic person, right? A lot of
Right.
times we see them, but we see them as, okay, a family member, or we glorify their little things that they do. Oh, she can move a glass of water. Oh, she's able to sip tea on her own. Oh, she laughs. Right? So being
Yeah.
being able to normalize the conversation, and a lot is in the hands of people with disabilities as well. A lot is in the hands of the non-disabled and the disabled. But I take the onus of helping people understand that, hey, I'm a person first, and then comes the disability. A lot of times, I've experienced this, that people may think that, oh, she will not be able to make a presentation, or she will not be able to travel to this location, or she will not be able to do the night shifts. Those are sometimes unconscious biases, and based on unconscious biases, without even asking, sometimes people take those decisions. And then it becomes my responsibility to surface them and say that, hey, I can do this, just give me an opportunity. um
Right.
what I'm suggesting is that, as colleagues, we can always ask the person, what help you need, instead of assuming, because we assume based on our understanding, the little understanding that we may have. And the disabled folks, it's up to us as well to walk that step. If we take one step forward, the others will definitely take 10 more steps forward and come closer to you to help you, because there's this big hesitation that people have, and it's
Right.
up to me to break that hesitation and help people move forward as well.
Interesting. I think it takes both sides of the equation to kind of cross a bit of a distance to help make a normal relationship. Excellent, excellently articulated, and I think that's the kind of world we would all love to be part of. So thank you so much. With that, we come to the end of this episode. Thank you, Madhubala Sharma, for joining us, sharing your insights on how to create inclusive workplaces. And you just didn't do that for organizations, but you also said how can co-workers and employees within an organization handle themselves. You also talked about how people with disabilities can handle themselves. So very well-rounded conversation, very insightful. Thank you for being with us. It was great having you. And thank you to all of you for listening to Diversity with Dale. And don't forget to share it with all your friends. Until the next episode, this is your host, Pallavi Jha, signing off.